Hello, everyone. Welcome to this IG Live, and thank you so much for joining us. And today's conversation is very, very important because I've realized over time, like in my course of practice as a family physician, and even from personal experiences with people, I've realized that a lot of adults struggle with low self-esteem. If only things had been caught way earlier, right? And so that is why we are here to educate parents, teenagers, and also educators on how to build self-esteem. And I have here a very, very formidable force, an expert in teenagers ministry, and then our goal is to build healthy teenagers. So I'm going to talk about her, but before then, can you say hello, Dr. Kenny, to our guests and tell us a bit about yourself? Although I'm still going to read your biography.
Okay. So my name is Dr. Kenny Ayoade. I am a visionary of Teens Aflame Global, where we mentor, inspire, educate teenagers as they navigate themselves into adulthood. And we play a lot of support for them, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, as they navigate, their way, with tough social pressures we are having now. So there's so much we do at the background just to make sure that we raise holistic teenagers who are sound, who are sound in their faith as well. Yeah, so that's about me. I'm also a family physician.
Yes. Yeah, so I've known Dr. Kenny Ayoade way back, and like she's really been a great resource. I've been following her on our social media handles, and I've kind of also collaborated with her on a platform to speak with teenagers. And she's really a great resource, and I'm so glad to have her here today. And I believe she's going to be very impactful this afternoon or evening or night, wherever you are, any part of the world. So let me just talk briefly about her biography. She's a primary care physician, could be called general practitioner, depending on where you're practicing or where you're located, could be called family physician. She's a teen mentor. She's a relationship or life coach and a convener of Teens Aflame Summit Lagos. Wow, this is I follow her every year, and I see that this summit is becoming so big. Like last year they did the 10 years, and it's so big. A lot of teenagers all over Lagos, all over Nigeria, they come together. They have a very informative session, training and hands-on experiences, life skills. Very innovative program that she does, and she's been on it for about 10 years. So she's a team lead of Teens Aflame's foundation, whose vision is to prepare, enlighten, educate, mentor, and help adolescents cope with various physiology, psychological, social, physical, and emotional changes as they transit to adulthood. Because you don't just become an adult, like it's a life process, right? And we've seen a lot of adults struggle. If only they had this kind of resources to equip them. So she believes with proper mentoring and guidance, young people will learn to make better and well-informed choices that will influence and an excellent living and a brighter future. Dr. Kenny is passionate about young people, especially teenagers. She offers professional counseling, technical support tools, teens health advice, coaching to schools, parents of teens, and other teens or youth cooperative initiatives. She's a host of several virtual and physical mentoring and coaching programs. She's also an author, a blogger, health educator, and a writer. One of our life-changing daily devotional or write-up is Hello Greatness. She hosts that, she just does write-up and video of that almost like every day of the week. And it's fast becoming a widely read and followed online program. This has been a very helpful resource for many. Dr. Kenny is well sought after speaker and trainer at conferences, seminars, and boot camps. Our vision is to raise a tribe of young people who have deep relationship with God and a balanced, healthy mindset, thus making informed decisions thereby influencing their world through discovering of their identities and purpose in life. So you see why she's here today, because we kind of have some things in common, which is like building a wholesome person. She is happily married and blessed with lovely children. So, our viewers, can you just do some love and wave, and just let's try to welcome and encourage our guest speaker for today. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, just to get right into it, because I know it took us a while to start up. So today we're talking about self dangers of low self-esteem in teenagers and youth, teenagers, young adults, right? Because realize that over time when people don't have like good self-esteem, it affects their daily lives in every area of their life. So when you hear self-esteem, what do you think it really means for a teenager?
Well, thank you for that question. Self-esteem has to do with how a teenager sees he or herself, what they perceive about themselves, what they think about themselves, their core opinion about who they think they are, what they think they can do, their competence, their connection, and their confidence. So it's when you stay or you stand before a mirror, what's that feeling that comes when you see yourself in that mirror? How do you perceive yourself? So all that encompassing can actually define what self-esteem is in general. So when it comes to a teenager, self-esteem for a teenager is very core because it actually forms the fabric of their totality and who they are and what they think they are. They are two different things. So I
Mm,
don't know, yeah. So that would be self-esteem in in a news flash because it's quite deep. It's very, very,
yeah.
it has a lot of layers depending on how you tend to look at it.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I
Mm,
really agree with you, because especially at this age where they are more like curious about what like people around them see them, how they see
mm,
themselves and all that. So
mm,
from what you said, it's more about how you see yourself, how you perceive yourself, right, instead of like how people perceive you. Okay.
yeah.
So why do you think this is important right now? Why do you think this
Mm.
topic is important?
It's very important, self-esteem as a topic, not even just for teenagers, for everyone, but at least because we are dealing with teenagers tonight. It's important because it forms the foundation of their mental health. And
Mm,
teenagers are in that part of their life where they are growing into their own self, their own identity. They are curious,
yeah.
they are very self-curious about themselves. So it actually helps to lay the foundation of their mental health. And it also promotes resilience. They're going to be engaging and coming in contact with so many tough things. So having a healthy self-esteem as a teenager would help them to be able to combat those social pressures, those, challenging situations. It builds resilience in them. It helps them handle tough situations, help them make better choices, healthy choices, just helps them be able to show up, take advantage of opportunities. So it's so important, self-esteem as a topic, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's pervasive across board every
Yeah.
aspect of one's life,
Mm,
and it's a foundation, especially like psychologically, personality in psychiatry. Personality is not formed until you are 18. So
yeah.
that age, if they don't get it right and they form their
Mm,
personality by 18, it's only the grace of God that will take them for them to
yeah,
work their way up. So it's
exactly.
very good to build that foundation. I agree
Mm.
with Charlie in this like time and age where there's a lot of like social media pressures and
Oh,
all that.
tell me about it. So many
Yeah.
things happening. So many things
Yeah.
are happening. Yeah. And I think they are in a very more difficult situation than the previous generation because of all
Hmm.
the social media. So their self-esteem is really under pressure. So it takes, intentionality to be able to raise a teen in this generation with a very confident outlook, in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So do you think low self-esteem, I mean, in teens, is it increasing, or do you think it's just more visible?
It depends on how you look at it. Low
Okay.
self-esteem has the chance or has the tendency to nosedive during adolescence, because a lot, is going on at the same time. Like I said earlier, they're trying to figure out who they are. They are coming into themselves. A lot of physical body changes are happening at the same time. And thanks to our social media, they have a lot of issues with that as well. So many things are happening at the same time. And depending on the teenager and the environment that teenager comes from, that's
Mm.
also a major factor in determining if this teenager would have an healthy self-esteem or a very low self-esteem. So I think for teenagers, their esteem are actually under pressure when they become adolescents. So it
Mm.
has the tendency to nosedive, to shake a bit, but with time it could pick up. But at that time, parents, caregivers, and those who handle teenagers must be aware that this is a time where their self-esteem is going to be, going through a lot of fluctuations, and they need
Mm.
steady environment to be able to help them to, scale
Navigate
through
it.
well. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. So, but do you think is it increasing, like low
You
self-esteem, or
mean
do
low
you
self?
think it's still the
Yes.
same? It just
No, it's not. Definitely, it's not the same anymore. And because it's increasing a lot, even I would say it has doubled in terms of the percentage of low self-esteem. And it might not be obvious to people because we see a lot of people, teenagers coming out on social media to show themselves, and we always just think that, oh, they are okay, they are doing fine, they're just being teenagers. But if you
mm,
are well trained and you have a trained eye, you'll be able to see beyond most of this action and know that it is still self-esteem wearing another mask. It's still
mm,
self-esteem with another wrapper around it. So we need to be very deliberate when it comes to, trying to work with teenagers, because there's so many things they pretend a lot. There's so many things under the layers that they do that maxes that period, because
mm.
they don't want to be the spotlight in that sense. They don't want people to know what they deal with a lot quietly, depending on the personality of the teenager. So absolutely, low self-esteem has become an epidemic as far as I'm concerned. In this world, in this generation, it has
Yeah.
become an epidemic. Yeah. Sad.
Okay, so I would encourage our viewers to please drop a love if you think things face more pressure today than we did. If you agree with us that there's more pressure than we face in our
Mm,
during our days, or like of course if you're much older, maybe in your in the 20th 19th century. So if you
mm,
think that things face more pressure these days, you can drop a love comment and let us know if you agree with us. Okay, so what are the subtle signs of low self-esteem that we parents often overlook? I think you mentioned that they mask it a lot. So
mm,
sometimes people who are not trained, even parents don't even know. So
mm.
can you please enlighten us the subtle signs of low self-esteem that parents overlook?
Overlook. Okay. Normally they would say, oh, this person is just throwing teenage tantrum. Oh, this person is just having mood swings. Most of the time, these mood swings that teenagers have is actually sometimes are signs of low self-esteem that we parents, like I would say we now, we overlook. We just think that they're just being hormonal or something like that. I know, yes, there's a place where the hormonal situation happens, during the girls and their period, but doesn't still mean that that should excuse everything. So we need to look deeply into these mood swings. Is it a way of, saying something? Is it a cry for help? So mood swings would be one thing that I would say first. And we know we have different personality of teenagers. We have some teenagers that are kind of I would like they deflect a lot. So when they start to, most of them deflect to the point where they share jokes, they make silly jokes, they are out there making people laugh, they are the clown of the class. And we always think that, oh, they are just being funny. Many of them are dealing with low self-esteem. So when you see a typical happy teenager going up and down, just being happy, we need to really, step back and really see this teenager for in the whole dimension, because that could also be low self-esteem when they are really very, clowny in that sense. They take all the insults and they don't say anything back. You think they are just well behaved like that. Then they
Mm,
tend to be very
mm,
critical too. They don't want to try anything. They don't want to try any new thing that would challenge it. They just want to be in their comfort zone. And as parents, if you are not careful, you will just say, "Oh, my boy or my girl is very gentle. He or she to doesn't want any issues. I think he's just a gentle person," and we can
mm,
easily just slide with that. You know. Then
mm,
some of them are they are perfectionists. They want everything to be perfect. Those are also subtle signs of low self-esteem that parents sometimes we actually forget or we miss the way. And some of them are very critical, very, very critical of themselves. They criticize themselves a lot. Those are signs that, parents
mm.
have to see. Then even bullies as well. When you are told that your child is a bully in school, don't say, yes, this my child is really doing well, making me proud. Some parents are very funny because low self-esteem has become a transgenerational issue. I
Mm,
won't say it's a cause. It's more like a transgenerational pattern,
mm,
dysfunctionality at its best, that parents are even handing over and passing down that dysfunction to their children. So it's a whole lot, because I've seen situations where a child was reported to the parent as as a bully in school, and the parent came to fight the teachers, came to quarrel that why would you say that about my child? My child is just standing up for herself. She's beating everybody in class, and you say your child is standing up for herself. You see that's where the problem is.
oh my
So
God.
yeah, so it's a whole lot to unpack. So those are things, parents can easily just overlook and think that, oh, this child is fine, whereas there's a lot going on in that child. So and like I said earlier, that teenagers can pretend a lot, so they wear a lot of masks. That's child that is always withdrawing from social events. You have to watch it. That child or that
Mm,
teenager that would want to take pictures of everybody, but does not want to be in the picture. They would take the picture of people, but they don't want to. They are socially avoidant. They are emotionally very distant. You don't know their feelings. You don't know if they are crying, if they are sad. They are expressionless. We need to really, because at that time it's very confusing to really figure out what's the personality of this teenager. But if you're not careful, you might just think, oh, maybe this is just the way this teenager is, whereas
mm,
the teenager is dealing with a lot. So those would just be some of those things we have to look out for.
mm. That's very, very insightful. Very, very insightful. It's just to recap, you mentioned like I think what I got from the fact that somebody who is a clown, who always wants to please everybody, like a people pleaser, that's
Mm,
someone who is not assertive and who
hmm
lacks boundaries, right? And
Yeah,
that kind of person can be everybody's friend because anything goes.
anything
And so
goes. Yes.
lacking boundary
hmm
and loss of assertiveness is a sign of low self-esteem.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
mentioned parents also, and that's why, like when I was talking and advertising this, I was like, parents needs to be here. Because sometimes we normalize things. We think it's normal. Oh, I'm shy, I'm reserved, I don't like parties, I just
Mm.
like things to be quiet. There's a thin line between your personality and having low self-esteem and being socially avoidant because you think people will criticize you, right? I deal with
Yeah.
a lot of that these days, and I'll be dropping a video about it sometime soon about, is it really shyness or social anxiety, which can be stemmed from low self-esteem, right?
Self-esteem.
That is very
Yeah.
important. Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
good. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for enlightening us on that. So, can a teenager look? I think you mentioned that briefly, but maybe touch more on it. How can a teenager look confident online but struggle deeply offline?
Mm. Yes. A big yes to that question. That's because, like I said, teenagers are at that point in their life where they are trying to figure out who they are. So there's a lot of body image issues and so many, issues around how they look. If you have a girl as a teenager or as a daughter, you will notice they are in the mirror all the time, checking out their pimples, checking out how they the boys still have their own as well. But if I got your question correctly, I will say that I think you should say that question again because there's so many things I
Okay,
want
can
to
they
say.
look
So,
confident online? Because I
okay,
think
yes,
you mentioned like
yes,
sometimes they have this
yes.
facade, right? They mask
Yes,
everything. They can be bubbly.
yes,
So just to, I know you mentioned it in a way, but maybe
yeah,
to touch more on it.
yes.
Can they
They can
look
look.
confident online but still struggle offline?
Yes, yes, they can because there's this facade they try to wear because they don't want anyone actually knowing their inner feelings. Because if people get to know who they are not sure they will like them for who they are. So that's
Hmm.
why they are able to succumb to peer pressure and take up the form of the personality, the dominant personality of their friend clique. So you see them
Hmm.
online, they are very bold, very audacious. They're using all these filters to take care of themselves, to give you
Hmm.
a false reality of who they are. So they are two different individuals, the real person and the false person. They don't meet. They are two different people. I met, there was a teenager where I counseled some years back, and the teenager was bearing a different name on social media, and
Hmm.
our parents never even knew that she was the one. She had this very audacious look. I don't know where she got the picture from. At that time they didn't even have AI and all that. So she had all the makeup and everything. And you see this child, this teenager, very, very timid. She couldn't she can't even say her name. But online she was something else because she saw that people liked her. And you know that there's this false validation that social media gives you that
Hmm.
that actually fuels and feed this insecurity and inadequacy that most of
Hmm.
the teenagers have. That's why it's like they have different names, different personnel, different picture, different everything when they get online. So a teenager can actually profess to be confident, but you'll be surprised that they are dealing with a lot. And most of the things they bring out is just a max. They just max most of the things they do out there. So when you see an overconfident person, before you actually clap and say, oh, this person is really very, very confident, you have to look at everything around that person. Does it add up? It does
Hmm.
everything add up. If it doesn't add up, then there's something wrong somewhere. That's why we hear stories of people who are actors, celebrities, killing themselves. Going into suicide attempts and all that.
Hmm.
That's to show you that all that glitters is not gold. So when it comes to teenagers, all that glitters is not gold. We have to be very careful. We have to really understand what is going on because they don't they laugh they just try to cover up a lot, they mask a lot, suppress feelings as well. They suppress feelings, so they are very
Hmm.
very dismissal. They are very dismissal. I think it's one of their parts of their brain that has not developed. So they are very dismissal. Some of them, you just tell them, how are you? Fine. How are you doing today?
I'm
Okay,
good.
I'm good.
How was the
As
day?
if,
I'm good.
oh, I'm good for 2 days. I'm good. And as a parent, you just take the I'm good like that. I know you have to do some unpacking in that I'm good and get your teenager talking. So that's one of the issues. They don't have an healthy place to vent and to express themselves properly. And that's where
Hmm.
they begin to have all these thoughts suppressed into their subconscious mind. And they begin to have this negative talk, negative self-talk. Because everybody has this this self-talk. Now, it now depends on, is it a negative one or a positive one? So they have enough time to start telling themselves all sorts of things. And thanks to social media, you have people who will encourage them, who would, fuel whatever negativity is already, on the
Hmm.
pipeline, and they just blow out. So yes, a very big yes to that question.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was quite enlightening, explosive.